Welcome back to the Next Avengers Collection. Last time we took a look at my concepts for Vision, Falcon, and Jane Foster, but today we're capping off this premier team of Earth's mightiest with my concepts for She-Hulk, Shuri, and America Chavez. Let's not waste any time and jump right to the good stuff. But really quick, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, consider subscribing and dropping a like so I know that I have a little itty-bitty corner of your heart to reside in. She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters, the world's second best lawyer. I kid, but when your competition is literally Matt Got the Devil in Him Murdoch, you're probably going to be playing second fiddle no matter the game. Jen is, famously, the younger cousin to the one and only Bruce Banner, also known as the one and only Hulk. I've been a big She-Hulk fan from the time I was old enough to realize that one big green angry superhero was different from the other big green angry superhero. As a kid, I was first introduced to the character through reruns of the 90s cartoon The Incredible Hulk. In both the show and comics, Jennifer is given a life-saving blood transfusion from her cousin, turning her into the evergreen fighting machine She-Hulk. In relation to Bruce, Jennifer offers an understatedly complex issue. Jen doesn't suffer the same violent, mind-numbing side effects as Bruce does with the Hulk. Instead, she and her emerald enhancements are one and the same. Bruce is eternally regretful that he did this to her, but she's living her best life trying to remind Bruce that these powers, while dangerous, don't need to spell doom and gloom at every corner. She's wildly optimistic, wildly fun, and just plain wild. She's the perfect contrast of carefree enthusiasm against Bruce's melancholic worrywart mentality. Granted, Bruce is 100% justified in his feelings. I'd never say the Hulk is anything less than a deeply tragic intersection of loss of identity and fear of hurting the ones you love. It's also worth pointing out that there has to be some level of FOMO for Bruce, seeing his younger half not only embrace, but excel at something he can never have: harmony. Jennifer took to being a Hulk like a toddler takes to hitting their head on the corners of coffee tables. That's gotta be a dizzying series of emotions to juggle. Putting all that deep, emotional gobbledygook aside, I won't waste any more time and get into my concept for She-Hulk and Rivals. She-Hulk's primary attack, Sensational Uppercut, slams the enemy 3 times with a walloping combo sequence before the 4th strike delivers a powerful uppercut to deal big damage and toss enemies upward. This pairs well with her secondary attack, Incredible Elbow Drop, which causes her to leap into the air, plummeting back down with devastating power. This snares a single enemy in her path, pinning them underneath her to feel the full weight of the attack. Speaking of performing aerial feats, I decided to rip off Hulk's toolkit for her passive, Higher, Harder, which lets her charge up huge jumps to clear great heights and large distances. Secondarily, this lets her create gamma-charged craters wherever she lands, leaving an area of effect to damage and slow enemies. These 3 abilities alone create the perfect ecosystem for diving squishies in the backline, leaping in to catch them off guard, slowing and damaging them with her mirror rival, before essentially stun-locking them with an uppercut elbow drop tag team. And they say there's too much counter dive in the game. She-Hulk's first ability, Property Damage, lets her dislodge chunks of debris from the earth below her, kicking up a massive piece of rubble and carrying it on her shoulder. With rubble in hand, she can either throw it using her secondary fire, or slam it into the ground in front of her with her primary. Throwing it would knock flyers out of the sky, and deal a little less damage than using it in melee range. Her final ability, Unladylike Behavior, lets the juice loose as she seethes with gamma radiation. This makes her emit green solar flares that damage enemies that get too close, while causing all of her attacks to hit even harder. I mentioned in the first half of this collection, specifically during my Falcon segment, make sure to check out part 1 to see that I'm kind of tired of ultimates that make an entire area of the map unplayable, either by way of killing everything inside a damaging ult, or keeping everything alive inside a support ult. I admit I finished my concept for She-Hulk before starting Falcons and writing the script. Oops. She-Hulk's ultimate, She-Hulk Smash, causes her to become completely enraged, fueled by the gamma within her to sear once again with devastating power. She begins jumping up and down in place to send massive shockwaves out that slow and damage enemies. After a few hops, she enters into an enhanced form of unladylike behavior, burning with even greater damage and causing her attacks to set enemies on fire with gamma radiation to drain them over time. She-Hulk would be nothing if not for the fast sinking of her brainiac cousin, so it's only fitting I offer a team up between them. Family of Smash causes Jen's unladylike behavior ability to last longer and hit harder, and gives Bruce the Gamma Intercept ability. This allows him to target enemies that are airborne from Sensational Uppercut. Using this ability lets him leap through the air to the target, snatching them out of the skies to slam them into the ground with a gamma-charged stomp. I also figured it was appropriate to add Jen to the Fastball Special team-up so she can lob Wolverine around. She-Hulk would play like a fast-paced off-tank with lots of single-target damage and a handy movement passive for getting in and out of conflicts. Not only is she entertaining as hell, but she's seriously one of the most beloved characters in Marvel, both in and out of universe. Shuri. Shuri has not only the most stacked family history in all of Marvel, being half-sister of the Black Panther T'Challa and daughter of Ramonda, Queen of Wakanda herself, but also the intellectual prowess to rival Tony Stark, the mystical acumen to rival Damon Hellstrom, and the tactical training to rival Frank Castle. That's all on top of being one of a long lineage to become the Black Panther. As princess and sometimes queen of Wakanda, Shuri ranks among one of the cooler characters in Marvel, relegated to a background role while the more popular heroes sit at the big kit table. That's not to say she's a slouch, having a big role in the political circles that Wakanda often finds conflict in. I know the character has had a complicated history in the comics regarding her ties to the throne of Wakanda, but I've been a very big fan of her more streamlined character throughout the MCU. Letitia Wright gives such a good performance across both Black Panther films and her very brief moments in Avengers Infinity War. While not given much to do in her first appearances, Wakanda Forever solidified Shuri as one of the most emotionally charged characters going into the next phases of the franchise. Letitia's acting in this film is genuinely some of the best across the MCU, as you can feel the palpable rage, grief, and disillusionment of her traumas start to crash against her. It's one of my favorite performances in recent memory. Not to stray too off topic, but where the film leaves Shuri and her tenuous ceasefire with the Talokan people should make for some twisty-turny alliances going forward. Before I go on and on, I'll save you all some time and jump right to the concept, but not before asking that you kindly subscribe if you're enjoying the video. I'll also add a quick caveat that this concept specifically details Shuri's power set while she bears the mantle of Black Panther, so any mentions of crazy acrobatic feats or kitty cat-like motifs are due to that bit of info. Before getting into her attacks and abilities, I'm first going to explain her passive, Shadow Dancer. This passive allows Shuri even greater movement capabilities than her brother, making her able to climb and cling to walls. An even greater application of this passive is its ability to completely wreath Shuri in Mystic Shade, making her invisible to the enemy while healing over time. This would trigger almost like Invisible Woman's Covert Advance, taking effect whenever Shuri hasn't attacked or been attacked for a short time. A big part of this toolkit and concept revolve around the usage of shadow physics, a new kind of mystical quantum mechanics hatched up by T'Challa in the comics. This passive is just the tip of that iceberg. Moving on to Shuri's primary attack, Kinetic Claws, she slashes her vibranium back scratchers in fast arcs, generating a buildup of energy within her suit. This energy is held over time until it becomes too great, erupting in a multi-effect field. The eruption would deal a small amount of damage to enemies and a large chunk of healing to allies. I wanted to focus on a kind of melee healer idea I've had for some time, so bear with me on this one. Or should I say, cat with me. I shouldn't, I'm sorry. Shuri's first ability, Cloak of Bast, causes the area around her to immediately become enveloped in her mystic shadow to obscure enemy vision and heal allies inside the shadow's mass. Allies are able to see outlines through the shadow, but not any true images of other rivals. Additionally, moving through the cloak instantly moves Shuri into Shadow Dancer's invisibility, making it a useful tool for escaping flanks and dives while jumpstarting her health pool. Her next ability, Prey Upon, puts a shadow mark on a chosen enemy with a few fun tricks. Its first quirk is that it allows Shuri to see and track enemies through walls, appearing as a dark figure when behind terrain and leaving magical footprints behind them. Secondly, it allows allies to fully see the marked enemy through Cloak of Bast, not just an outline. This ability's highest value effect, however, is the healing it supplies when allies deal damage to the marked enemy. This would be a great multi-purpose ability that allows Shuri to be a very flexible hero. Placing the mark on just about anyone, especially a beefy tank, would make it super easy to give DPS players a priority target while keeping them in the fight even longer. It also helps to support a more tactical mind, following sneaky flanks from the likes of Moon Knight or Magic as she stalks them across the map. The mark lasts through death, both the target's and Shuri's, until she decides to move it to another enemy. Shuri's final ability, Panther's Advance, is another incredibly useful tool with lots of secondary functions for a wide array of situations. She drops down to run on all fours, moving like a true wildcat. This greatly increases her movement speed while maintaining both Shadow Dancer's invisibility and wall scaling. While in the zippier state, she passively builds kinetic energy to release healing eruptions like with Kinetic Claws. She also extends Cloak of Bast's shadow in the direction she's moving, should she pass through its mass. Lastly, Shuri moves even faster if she's in this state, traveling in the direction of her Prey Upon mark, in the same vein as Daredevil and his Sonic Pursuit. I previously mentioned that this toolkit centers around the fictional concept of shadow physics from the comics. Shadow physics is essentially a bridge between quantum physics and magic, primarily focusing on the transmutation of matter. I wanted to tap into this mystic science transfer of energies for a different kind of ultimate for Shuri. Into Jalia places a buff on all nearby allies, giving them a lifesteal effect that applies to all their damage. This buff not only helps the whole team stay alive, but it also acts as a conduit for a buff that's placed on Shuri herself. For every elimination scored by an enhanced ally, Shuri gains a stacking buff that increases her healing efficiency and decreases her cooldown times. Once the ult ends, the lifesteal effect is removed from allies, but Shuri's buff remains for a short time to gradually taper off. I can't mention T'Challa this many times and not tee up a team-up between these two. Wakanda Forever has Shuri, the anchor between both Panthers, gain a buff to her overall healing while T'Challa gains the heart-shaped alchemy ability. This allows T'Challa to not only see his sister's prey upon mark through walls as she can, but also causes him to slash and dash similar to his Spirit Rend ability. This would expand Cloak of Bast in whatever direction he's moving if he passes through it. Shuri would play like a frontline healer, able to slip in and out of the shadows to both aid allies and escape from the brink of death. A lot of her toolkit is centered around being a support hero, not just a straightforward healer. Between her excellent tracking capabilities and her various ally enhancements, there's a lot of interesting ways to play this kitty cat connoisseur. AMERICA CHAVEZ. AMERICA CHAVEZ es un héroe que brilla más que cualquier estrella. She's one of the hardest hitting heroes in all of Marvel history, and that's without her ability to punch star-shaped holes in reality itself. Get used to hearing me say the word star, because I'm going to say it a lot in this segment. America is one of those characters I knew about peripherally for many, many years, but never actually knew much about. I'd seen her image in various places across comics and other media, but wrongly assumed she was some kind of street-level Captain America-inspired young Avenger, kind of like Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel to Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel. Boy, was I wrong. Once I started getting more into the actual comics history, I realized how much of a powerhouse America really is. She's gone toe-to-toe with some serious heavy hitters, garnering respect from some other serious heavy hitters. She's led the Young Avengers, helped countless Earths avoid cataclysm, and won a place in my heart. I'm curious to see what the MCU is able to do with this starstruck hero going forward, especially given the fast-approaching Doomsday and its multiversal chicanery.
This chicanery?
I know many people see America as being an outright brawler best suited for a DPS role, but I've seen way more accounts of her acting in a support capacity than that. She's often titled as being a multiversal medic or problem solver. With my concept, I decided to bridge both worlds and offer up a heavy-hitting DPS healer. America's primary attack, Starkin, launches 3-dimensional stars to heal allies and do a bit of range damage. This is America's first line of healing, but her secondary attack, the Mac, is where her damage capabilities come into play. This attack is a powerful haymaker that deals initial damage on impact before creating a star portal to deal another dose of damage and throw enemies back. If America hits this ability into the ground right below her, it gives her a kind of rocket jump to launch into the air. This height advantage plays into her passive, Starling Step, which allows her to create little star platforms under her feet to walk on thin air. America is able to fly in the comics, but I feel like for gameplay purposes, keeping her mostly grounded feels like the way to go. America's first ability, Stellar Bridge, brings us to the first power I thought up for this kit. She punches a hole through space, creating a portal from her location to wherever she chooses on the map. The portal has a kind of limited integrity and only allows for a small handful of uses. Basically, the portal is permanent until it isn't. This would still provide a huge traversal bonus, but also make players a bit more conscientious about their playmaking. Her next ability, Star Shower, is a simple area of effect heal. America opens a portal over a chosen ally, letting dimensional energy flow through it to restore ally health over time and apply an attack speed increase. Her final ability, Utopian's Boost, is a kind of microversion of the last ability, opening a smaller portal over a single ally to give them a movement buff while increasing the healing they receive from America's Starkin. This would work kind of like Mantis' Allied Inspiration ability. I've had this idea for a kind of randomized ult for a while now, something that could wildly change up the dynamic of a match without hanging anyone out to dry. I racked my brain for a long time trying to ideate interesting buffs and abilities that wouldn't interfere with the core gameplay of any specific character, but at the end of the day, I decided to hang my hat on the bliss of simplicity. All-Star Roulette causes America to break reality itself, opening portals beneath every ally to let the energy of a random universe pour out. Each world is tied to a buff, one of 3, a damage increase, a heal over time, or a replenishing shield. Every ally also gains a movement speed increase during this time because, dang it, I like getting zoomies in the middle of my firefight. America herself, overloaded with dimensional power, gains all 3 of these randomized buffs at the same time to truly make her the heavy-hitting Mac Daddy we all know her to be. I really love America Chavez's whole shtick, and I'm a sucker for a multiversal nomad. This is a hero I actually expect to come to Rivals sooner rather than later, as the dev team have expressed their desire to introduce more lesser-known heroes. The big leagues are pretty big though, and America is primed to step up to bat and hit a homer. This has been the Next Avengers Collection. Thank you so much for tuning in for part 2, and hopefully part 1. Your support for watching my videos is so appreciated, as I try to turn this whole YouTube thing into a genuine career. I put a lot of time and energy into these videos, and I hope that either my work ethic or even my concepts themselves are tantalizing enough to warrant liking, subscribing, and dropping a comment below. I have some really fun content on the way that goes beyond the realm of Marvel and even gaming, so stay plugged in for more goodness on the way. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all real soon for my next collection. Bye for now.